You mentioned the other running backs that have stepped up. I think I saw Edward Minor, a freshman that's been able to come in and get some touchdowns, keep you guys moving offensively.
Yes, we've had a couple backs step up that's done a great job for us this year. Like I said, the Daughtery game, we lost our starting running back at the time, DeAndre Stone, but he's been back with us a couple games now from his injury. But in that process, we figured out that, we moved Jordan Mack, who's normally a slot player for us. Jordan Mack has did a great job. He's got player of the game a couple times and had some big games, obviously. So we figured out that he's a decent back. And then I'm really excited with Edward Minor. He's a freshman, and he's come in and had some good games as well. But, with all our backs, I must bring up the fact that our offensive line has been the backbone of our team this year. They've done a great job every game opening holes, and they just do a great job. Those guys, I'm extremely proud of them. And I'll be honest, this is probably one of the best offensive lines through and through that we've had since I've been at Stockbridge during my, this is my 14th year. So I got to give credit to our offensive line. But yes, our backs do a great job, and we figured out kind of now as we're getting towards the end of the year who those guys are. So they do an excellent job.
They got 2'6" and above guys that are over almost 290 pounds. They have 3 Division I commits. One is going to Georgia Tech. That's Elias Cloy, excuse me. Then they have another one that's an NC State commit. Then they have another one that Parker Peterson, I think there's right guard, is going to Memphis. So you put that offensive line, you're going to win a lot of games. And they're a very high potent offense. This team has scored 70 points in the game this season. They have, I'm trying to remember their quarterback, Ben Guthrie, 29 passing touchdowns this season to just 5 interceptions. They have 4 playmakers who have nearly 500 yards receiving on the year. I mean, that's just kind of unheard of. Then they got 2 guys that combined for over 16 touchdowns. So, I mean, Coach even told me, he says, there's nobody that they don't trust when the game on the line to go win a 50-50 ball when they got to have it and they got to need a possession. So when you have that kind of talent on the offensive side of the ball, that makes you dangerous. So,
all right, good afternoon and welcome to the 168th episode of the Georgia Farm Bureau Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. We're going to try to be joined by 4 guests today. It's going to be Thomas Clark, Stockbridge's head coach. Najeh Wilkins is going to come on. He has a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. He had an outstanding interview with Brookwood's Bryce Dobson yesterday that I want to talk about. Jordan's going to come on. We're going to make some predictions on some of these games. And then get this, we're going to have Stephenson head coach Marcus Jelks coming in probably at 1 o'clock. They're about to play Holy Innocents for the region title, and their game actually kicks off at 3:30. So he's going to be getting right off the bus before kickoff. Be sure to tune into that. We'll have the scores updated at scoreatl.com. All right, so we'll go ahead and get things started. This is going to be taped, so you might, if you're watching live, you might not be able to hear the audio, but it will be fixed post-production. But we're going to go ahead and get things started. Welcome on, Coach Clark.
Hey, thank you guys for having me today. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so let's talk about this Stockbridge program. You took over last season, had a really good run, played a tough schedule, but what did you see just last year, and how long have you been at Stockbridge?
Yeah, last year I took over. We were 5-5 on the year, but, obviously I've been a long-time assistant here at Stockbridge, and I've been through those years when we had a lot of success. And, last year was kind of a rebuilding year from every phase. I hired a new offensive coordinator. We put a new system in offensively, hired a new defensive coordinator, went back to running the 4-2-5, which we've run in the past. But it was a rebuilding year, in all really phases of the program. And we come out, 5-5 last year. The big thing was our kids played hard through the whole year. Battled through some adversity, and then 4 out of our 5 losses, were within 7 or 8 points. So, we knew going in that we had a chance to be pretty decent this year and compete. So far, our kids did a great job buying into the weight room program. We back, building them up from that standpoint. And then they've done a great job competing this year and working hard every day in practice. So I'm excited about, what we got building so far. Obviously, we're not where we want to be at, but we're heading in the right direction as a program.
I was just asking, when you were an assistant at Stockbridge, were you on the defensive side?
I was an offensive line coach when I was first hired. I really worked up after being an offensive line coach. I was strength conditioning coach here. Worked with guys in the weight room, and then I was offensive coordinator during my time here.
Gotcha. And yeah, if you were going to have a rebuilding year, I'm looking at last season, what a schedule you guys played. Douglas County non-region, Jones County, Dutchtown, Ola. We know they've been on the up and up. So what did you just see last year in that final season in 5A, and how did that prepare you guys coming into this season?
Last year we played some very talented football teams, and we played some good football teams this year. But last year, coming up, we were really young. We started a lot of sophomores on both sides of the ball, a lot of juniors on both sides of the ball. But just playing those teams, that helped prepare us, obviously, in preparation to, keep getting better as a program. And, there's some really good football in Henry County, and that Douglas County team, Coach White over there, he does a fantastic job. They win a lot of games every year. So that just kind of helped us kind of get where we need to be from a competition standpoint and see kind of where we need to be in terms of, getting back into the playoffs and playing those type of teams.
Yeah, and a 5-5 season, so many close games though. The 7-6 one to Dutchtown, a 7-point loss to Woodland Stockbridge. So then you kind of have this new fresh feel heading into this year, going into 4A. You mentioned the 4-2-5 defense. I think Raven County might run that also. I mean, how has that just helped? Because, it seems like your defense has really come together and been disruptive this season.
Yeah, so, we put in obviously been a new scheme. Our goal is to get our kids, we want to simplify the game plan on defense so we can obviously get our guys lined up right, to the formations. But we really want to simplify things so our guys can play fast, react, and get to the football. So we've had, last year, most of our defensive linemen were sophomores, so we knew going in and that they would be improved, from this year or from last season to this year. We also knew we felt pretty good about our secondary. We only lost one player on secondary from last year, so we got a lot of guys back. Got some talented guys on that in our secondary as well with Sheldon Lewis, Clemson commit, Narik Sharp. He's got several Power 5 offers coming in. But really a guy back there, he's got some FCS Division I offers. Leon Thomas, he's back in that secondary, and he's doing a great job. And then Malik Caswell is an up-and-coming player that's getting a lot of looks from a Division I standpoint. So, having all those guys back on defense, really, they understand the scheme. And Coach Hill, our defense coordinator, did an outstanding job of just really, really making it simple for those guys so they can react and get to the football, and play fast. So they really understand our scheme. That's the big focus, going into year two is just grasping those concepts and getting better from that standpoint. And we've done a really good job with that.
Yeah, and you mentioned the goal of simplifying the game for your guys so they're able to play faster. But in terms of a strength standpoint, you mentioned all the sophomores that were on the line last year. How much stronger has this year's team gotten from just a year ago?
So, we've grown, like I said, going in year one, getting them in the weight room and just having them work so hard and keep developing, in terms of physical strength and putting in the knowledge, putting in the time and work, to really grasp the concept and just having another year. Obviously, going through having a great spring and then going into summer, those guys working, it's another year for those guys to gel defensively too. And that's kind of helped create a good, obviously a better team chemistry on that side of the ball as well. So they've done a good job with that.
And then, so you opened this season. You played at Southwest DeKalb. That was a team you faced last year as well. A close game a year ago. You guys get a 13-0 win. And then talk about that Colquitt County game. It looks like you guys were able to hold your own in that. And we know how good they've been this year with Nico Fan at quarterback. Just talk about that challenge, what you're able to take away from that.
Yeah. The Colquitt County game, I look at it as a great experience for our program. Obviously, Coach Calhoun's done a great job down there taking over that program. But when we schedule them, in my thinking, obviously along with our athletic director, our thinking was, for us to go down and get that great environment, obviously that they have, and get that experience of going down and playing, one of the top teams in the state. So our thinking was our guys, we wanted to go down there and really compete with them. We had obviously that game didn't go in our favor, but it was a learning experience for us from a team standpoint. I mean, we went down there and played in a hostile environment. Our kids, some of our kids have never played in that type of environment. So it was a great experience for them to learn and see what it's going to be like as we go into the playoffs and even, make that run to the state championship game. So it's a great, I consider it a learning experience, even though, obviously, we didn't win the game. But, as far as the game itself, we just come out. We were a little nervous on both sides of the ball. We had to kind of keep our composure. But we definitely used that as a learning tool, just that whole experience of having to get up, make the long drive down on the buses and that whole deal. It really prepared us moving forward, should we have to, do that type of game again or make that travel to a team again and have to do that. So that was a great experience for us, even though it didn't turn out on the scoreboard like we would like.
Certainly, and not just one of the best teams in the state, one of the best teams in the country right now. They're up in like number 12 in most rankings, I think. And so, yeah, you guys had a pretty good showing in that one. Then you play another outstanding team, Doherty. I think it's, how do you say it? Is it Doherty? I always mess that up. But, yeah, talk about that game, though. Just your quarterback, the junior, Kobe Tompkins. Looks like he was able to keep you guys in that game and have a really good performance.
Yes, sir. The Daughtery game, we had a few guys out that game, but we also lost our starting running back that game, DeAndre Stone. So we kind of had to get creative offensively, and we had to have some guys step up. Obviously, when you have starters out, things of that nature, someone's got to step up and make plays. Kobe did a great job that game, not only with throwing the ball and making plays, but he did a great job running the ball, with his feet and making plays with his feet also. But that game, obviously, that was a close game. We had an opportunity in that game late. We turned the ball over. So we should, it's a great experience being able to see their, I believe it's Cameron Davis, their star player. I mean, he absolutely put on a show that night. And, obviously, when you have a player that type of caliber, you have to be able to slow him down a little bit in order to win, have success. But we didn't do a very good job that night of that. But I was pleased at the fact, we had our starting running back get hurt. But in the process of that, we learned that we got some pretty good other backs on our team that had stepped up and did a great job. So that was kind of learning process we had from that game. But I look forward, we play them again next year. And I look forward, we're going to be up for the challenge of having to go down to their place and play them again. And we had a tough task to stop Cameron Davis again, but we kind of, it was a great experience, but we're going to be kind of up for that again. Cause we really, you hear about him and how special he is, but it was one of those deals, we didn't really see it until the game started and he started making plays, not only with, obviously he's known for running, but he throws the ball a little better than what we thought, before we played him. So it was just a great game seeing him run around and make the plays he played. So we're gonna be up for the challenge, but we understand it's gonna be a difficult task as we go down and play them because they're a good football team.
Yep, and so Coach Clark is wrapping up the non-region schedule. I know people listening live can't hear him, but in the post-production you will be able to hear him, so don't worry about that. You mentioned the other running backs that have stepped up. I think I saw Edward Minor, a freshman that's been able to come in and get some touchdowns, keep you guys moving offensively.
Yes, we've had a couple backs step up that's done a great job for us this year. Like I said, the Daughtery game, we lost our starting running back at the time, DeAndre Stone, but he's been back with us a couple games now from his injury. But in that process, we figured out that, we moved Jordan Mack, who's normally a slot player for us, Jordan Marcus did a great job. He's got player of the game a couple times and had some big games, obviously. So we figured out that he's a decent back. And then I'm really excited with Edward Minor. He's a freshman, and he's come in and had some good games as well. But, with all our backs, I must bring up the fact that our offensive line has been the backbone of our team this year. They've done a great job every game opening holes, and they just do a great job. Those guys, I'm extremely proud of them. And I'll be honest, this is probably one of the best offensive lines through and through that we've had since I've been at Stockbridge during my, this is my 14th year. So I got to give credit to our offensive line. But yes, our backs do a great job, and we figured out kind of now as we're getting towards the end of the year who those guys are. So they do an excellent job.
Certainly. And then once you guys have gotten into the region, you guys have really turned it on. I'm just going to rattle off the latest 5-game win streak. 47-0 Luella, 49-2 Hampton, 49-3 Mount Zion, 34-0 over Lovett. Huge win right there. And then last week, 43-14 over Woodland. So now you're about to go on the road, play a really good Pace Academy team. What are you looking for just to continue preparing yourselves for the playoffs in 4A this year?
Yeah, so, obviously we want to keep the importance of us keep getting better at the little things as we finish out the year. I mean, obviously we go up and play a really good Pace Academy team tonight, for a chance to win the region championship. And obviously that's one of our goals that's the first goal, obviously, for us, as far as the season and team goals, is to win a region championship and obviously move on into the playoffs. So up until this point, we put ourselves in a good situation to be where we're at. So we kind of control our destiny. But like I tell our guys, we got to keep improving. We got to keep on working on our technique and fundamentals and keep practicing hard. And, everything's got to come together, keep coming together for us, and it's 1 week at a time, because as we move forward, obviously, playing a good football team tonight, then we got McDonough, who really is a good football team. They just had, they've been kind of having some issues with turnovers and things of that nature, but they're not a bad football team at all. The ball's not been rolling their way the last few games, or really this year. They've had a tough luck, but they're a good football team. So we got to prepare well to go down and play them as well. Coach Cofield does a great job. He's a good coach for them. So we just got to practice and plan and prepare and have a good game plan, these last 2 games. And, obviously we're in a situation now to put ourselves in the playoffs. Once that starts, it's 1 week at a time. Everything's on the line. So it's a good time. This is kind of what we've been used to. At Stockbridge, feels good to getting back into making those runs and playing playoff games. And hopefully we'll be fortunate enough to host a playoff game at Stockbridge. And, I just want to say, while I got a moment, Mr. Bird, our athletic director, he has done a great job of setting the atmosphere for our home games. And for anybody out there listening, if you want to see a great atmosphere for a high school football game, please come to Stockbridge. Like I said, we're going to play at Pace and we're going to be at McDonough, but hopefully, we'll host a first round playoff game, and come check us out, because we're getting back to the old Stockbridge from a few years back. And it just feels good to get back into that atmosphere. So I have to give him credit on that. He's done a great job for us.
Certainly, and I mean that's why I wanted to have you on. The results speak for themselves. I think you guys really have a chance to make a big run in 4A this year. You mentioned Pace Academy; they're 7-1 coming into this matchup. They've had some big wins. They beat Westminster for the first time ever this year. A lot of talent right there. But just in terms of starting fast tonight, you guys have had fast starts with your offensive line, kind of establishing it early, letting your defense play aggressive. You mentioned your defense playing simple. I mean, how important is it just come out, start fast tonight, put some pressure on Pace?
Yeah, it's, Pace Academy, I tell our players, anytime you play a team, well, let me back up. Pace Academy's done a great job. Their coach has done a great job. Their coach staff's done a great job. They've made a jump from 2A to 4A. They've done a tremendous job finding a way to win. They're 7-1. And anytime successful teams, anytime you have teams that win, that are successful, they find a way to win ball games. And I don't care. You can throw records out the door, all that, but they're going to be ready to play. And they've done a good job winning ball games this year and making that transition. So I want to give them credit first. But, in terms for us, we want to come out and continue to, play fast and get a fast start on them and get up on them. That's the goal, obviously. And I think we can do that and keep the momentum, by not turning the ball over, not giving up big plays. That'll give us a chance to be successful on the night. And, hopefully we can get the win and bring home the trophy tonight, the region championship trophy. But they're a good team, and our players are going to be up for it. And, we're excited to be in this position to have the opportunity to win the region championship again.
Absolutely. We will be following that closely. It's going to be a beautiful night in Georgia. Best of luck, Coach, on taking home that that region title and, I guess, state title this year, too.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to come on. I really do appreciate it.
You bet. Go Tigers. So we will be following that game closely. Coach Clark, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, so we'll be back with the audio, but, that was super interesting. And as I said, I wanted to have Coach sorry, I got to end that call real quick. All right. But, yeah, I wanted to have Stockbridge on because if you look at them, they have a really big shot in 4A this year. They're a team that hasn't really hit the AJC rankings or whatever. But, look at their two losses. Colquitt County, non-region. Daughtry in non-region, a 3-point loss. And they've just been so dominant since. Talked about the defense coming together in that new system that can be disruptive when you got the 5 players in the secondary, the 4-2-5 defense. That's tough, and especially if you're good up front. Good luck converting a 3rd and long with those guys flying around back there. And then offensively, he mentioned the depth they've discovered in the backfield. So really exciting. That's a game we will be covering closely tonight just to see if Stockbridge able to come out to a fast start and get this big region victory on the road at Pace Academy. So we're going to take a quick break, though. Thank our sponsors, Georgia Farm Bureau.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are a Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. So thank you for bearing with us. As I mentioned, the audio will be back when we repost this. You guys got to follow the Score Atlanta YouTube page as well. We have some great content out there, including this show, but we're going to edit it in from the Zoom. It's pretty crazy how Najeh figured that out. I actually had 3 headphones in at the same time, and he was emailing the link. So, man, he really is clutch. But we're going to move on, though. I wanted to talk to Najeh just about some of these games, and then in particular, the show he launched yesterday, the interviews he's been doing with players, the film breakdowns, really trying to take this platform and take it next level. And we have seen it. A lot of these players that Najeh's been highlighting is just right at that moment, kind of the recruiting floodgates open. And as Bryce Dobson, Brookwood's senior receiver, was talking about, it's like once you get that one big offer, they all start coming in. And that has been the case with him. Georgia Tech offering, all these other ones. He's got some Ivy League offers as well because he's a 4.0 student. Just a superb athlete. So do we have Najeh yet? Okay, he's trying to get ready. He's doing a million things. But, so I want to focus on that interview he did with Bryce Dobson because I thought it was just spectacular. If I had it my way, I would just air it for the next 20 minutes because it was that good. But you guys do need to check it out. I retweeted it, Najeh retweeted it, and we'll talk about it right now. So, Najeh, I thought your interview with Bryce Dobson was so epic, the way it kind of encapsulated what he's been able to achieve this season, just him talking about what it's like to kind of be in your senior season with guys you've been playing with for a while, just the moment, having his recruiting profile blow up. What impressed you the most, just being able to look at a guy like his situation and just seeing his hard work pay off.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce is just a very well put together young man, very polished. His dad, Jason, raised a really good young man, and his mom. You could just see it when you talk to him, how knowledgeable he is of the game, how knowledgeable he is in school. I was able to talk to him about, what would you tell athletes that struggle to kind of do both, play sports and, do schooling. And he has a 3.9 GPA right now currently. He has track offers from Alabama, Princeton, and then right now, like I said, his football has just been blowing up all week. Georgia Tech commitment or Georgia Tech offer, Georgia State offer. Pittsburgh's interested in him now. Mississippi State's interested in him now. So, I mean, I just think it's well-deserved for a kid that's very humble, puts all the work in, and, he just started playing this position 1.5 years ago. And to see kind of what he's doing now is just incredible. And I think you saw last week when they played Grayson, he gave them that jolt of momentum. Coming out, it was a 14-0 game at halftime. He comes out, takes an 89-yard kickoff, said, instead of going the normal wedge, we decided we wanted to go all the way to the other side of the field. And he said, we hit that, got the block, and then boom, it was done. And you could just see, kind of excitement from him and what it meant for the team. And then they went right back down, Grayson did, scored the touchdown, but then he takes a 55-yard, incredible. I broke it down to him. I tell the tape, but 55-yard hitch route, essentially. And he said, literally, that was supposed to get 3 or 4 yards. I saw the safety playing 10 yards off of me, seen it, made a move on him, went past, got the block from my teammate, and took it to the house. So, I mean, just an incredible kid. I'm super stoked and happy for him. And I just love what we do as a company and what we do as just trying to help out these players and give them more notice and, helping them get to the next level where they want to be at.
Yeah, and I don't want to spoil the whole interview, but I encourage everyone to go watch it. It was phenomenal. But in terms of those 2 plays you talked about, it was so interesting because he was talking about what it was like to be in the locker room. He felt like he had kind of loafed a little bit on one of his clearing routes. Dylan went to him where he could have potentially given that a full-out effort and made a big play. So he kind of took that personally. And just the confidence and wherewithal for them to say, okay, we got to get back in this we got to get back in this game. So, as you said, let's put the wedge on this side. And then he's so confident in his speed that he knew if he got the blocks, he'd be able to take it off. And then just him mentioning the difference between track speed and football speed. I mean, it's just so true because, I mean, he's a 400 runner, so he knows that it's about like sustaining. It's not just about being quick off the burst, and that's why he's been able to have all these breakaway plays and truly kind of deceptive speed. His form's outstanding, and you heard Rusty and Brandon say it on the call last week. It's effortless. It really is. I mean, he is just obviously the hard work goes into it, but once he's on the field, it looks effortless.
No, for sure. And I don't what the young kids say nowadays, he's like that or he's him. I mean, you could see it on the field. I mean, the guy's just different, and he brings a different kind of attitude. He brings a different kind of swagger to them. And like I said, he's a humble kid, and you could see it in the interview. And I enjoyed talking to him. That game too, Craig, he was dealing with a stomach bug. He said that was the first time I returned like back to back like that. Right. And he said, no, I was looking for the trash can. My teammates wanted to fist bump me and chest bump. I wasn't trying to do that. I was trying to get to the trash can. I was like, yeah, you probably needed the oxygen tank. He was like, yeah, no kidding. So, just incredible talking with him. Got to go more about the relationship with Dylan and kind of how that came to be, how they kind of bounced around different, youth leagues and how he kind of came over and just, where he wanted to play football at. I mean, it's just an incredible interview. And it's a guy that's, I think, slept on, but now he's starting to get some more notice. And I'm really glad that he is. And they got a big-time, prime-time matchup tonight. Obviously, we're going to talk about that in a little bit between Parkview and Brookwood, crosstown kind of rivalry almost bragging rights when you go to other games in the season, basketball, baseball, and things like that. So, I mean, I think this is a team, again, they got to get the ball to their playmakers. I think it's going to be pivotal how they're going to use their playmakers in key situations. But if you get the ball to Dobson, you get the ball to Massengill, you get the ball to Lee Niles, they'll be just fine. I think they'll be there when it comes to semifinal round and things like that and third round. But got to get the ball to your playmakers. And defensively, Malcolm McCain, Noah Holton, they do a marvelous job on the defensive side of the ball.
Certainly. And, we'll see if Dylan can get that deep ball going. But one last point about the interview that I think he's just such a great example of a guy that he swims. He's an outstanding swimmer. He runs track, and then he's at the quarterback position. His great friend Dylan Lonergan, obviously he's the highly recruited quarterback, so he takes over that position, and then he just kind of steps into receiver naturally. And then, I mean, look at what he's been able to do this season. He's absolutely blowing up.
Yeah, he is, and he was a freshman and sophomore quarterback for their freshman and JV team, and then Lonergan has been a starter for varsity. Well, not a starter, but he's been in that pecking order ever since he was a freshman. Basically, he was on varsity, so they wanted him to play it, and he stepped in seamlessly. He had a play I seen from film that his dad sent me, just like a regular play, kind of broke down, took a 75, 80-yard play as a freshman or sophomore, and just took it to the house. He was playing quarterback position and just took it all the way. So you can see even the speed then, but he's only just enhanced that and even gotten even better. But, yeah, man, I think just, his speed, and I think him playing those multi-sports, as you just mentioned, the swimming, the track. Swimming's underrated because it really helps you from an endurance perspective. Like, that's kind of slept on a lot, like swimming and not thinking about it. But when you playing these big games, you're going 4 quarters, you're going overtime, you're playing these big region games and championships or whatever it is, you need that endurance to be able to keep going. And you saw it in those last 2 plays last week against Grayson. So not only does he have that burst of speed that is substantiated and he can go for a long time, but he also has the endurance to be able to keep going. And I think that's really making a difference. And you're going to see him kind of when we get in those playoff games, you're going to see him be able to sustain longer when some players are kind of falling up short.
Yeah, his athleticism is really special. And, I know he's probably going to be getting he got his slushie yesterday. He's probably eating Chipotle pregame. They're very superstitious. But, yeah, that was just awesome. Really excited for him. And I think wherever he ends up going, once he hones in just on the football skills, he still is open to playing multiple sports. But I think once he is able to pour in all the attention to detail, he can be a really great receiver at the next level. So that's exciting. Once again, everyone needs to check out that interview. And speaking of, let's just talk about your show yesterday, Keeping It Real with Najeh Wilkins. We had Marist on. We had Lovejoy's head girls basketball coach on. And I think that was another interesting point about Marist. When you look at kind of the makeup of their team, they won the state title last year in 4A. And she was talking about how she has a lot of girls that play soccer in the spring, and they won the state title too. So you look at a team that was probably one of the best defenses on the court last year, holding opponents 30 points per game. You got to think maybe that soccer defense and that soccer skill set is translating over there. So I thought that was really interesting, just learning about kind of how that Marist program has been being built.
Yeah, definitely. Last year they had sport athletes. They had a softball player, Avery Ventucci, who hit the game time buzzer beater and the game winning layup. She's at Michigan now playing softball. Then you also had a soccer player who came over. So I think she said this year they're going to have about 5 or 6 that are going to come over from soccer maybe later. So she's just dealing with a lot of youth, but I think she's well equipped for the task at hand. And I think, don't sleep on Marist. And they got Kate Harpring, who her dad, Matt Harpring, is, well known. And she comes from an illustrious kind of basketball background. I think you're going to see a team. Obviously, you're going to have some growing pains because you're dealing with a lot of youth. And, how it looks like, as Coach alluded to, how it looks Tuesday night might not look the same as it looked Friday night. So, obviously, you're going to be dealing with things like that. But that only molds you into a good team. And if you can build that experience young, you'll be dangerous. And obviously, 6A, as we mentioned yesterday, is kind of the creme de la creme right now. They are very loaded. Deep teams there, Lovejoy, Marist, Woodward Academy. There's a lot of teams in there that are going to be kind of contending for that. Oh, River Ridge is another team bringing back the player of the year. So, it's so many teams.
Yeah, it's going to be outstanding. And I thought your first episode was great yesterday. So that's going to be airing every Thursday at 2. You're bringing the spotlight to pretty much all of GHSA girls sports. You're going to be covering it all. So I think that's a great addition. So, what do you have planned just in the coming weeks with kind of basketball season coming around the corner? You got the volleyball, softball. We've got cross country coming up. There's so many opportunities to highlight some of these big major athletes.
Yeah, so for me, I'm definitely going to talk about some softball and kind of some volleyball next week. Hope to get maybe a couple of coaches to come on the show, just ones that were kind of battling it out semifinal and final round. Just seeing how that went for them. How was their season overall? It's like I'm kind of coming towards the end. I would much rather come at the beginning, but definitely going to try to see what's going on with that. That'll probably be my stance next week, and then a couple following weeks. Obviously, highlight cross country next week. They're going to start. I'm going to have a preview up on Score ATL Thursday. For that. And I'm going to probably, talk about that a little bit that following week as well. Cross-country championships, players who won, who's been performing well all season. And then, obviously, after that, I'll kind of focus and harnessing on basketball and things like that. And see if there's any other women's ball, maybe highlight a little bit of flag football and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it sucks, but you've been to over 20 football games already this season. I think only Rusty Manziel is in your same league. I think you guys might be tied for the most in the world right now. So you've been to a lot of football games. You're going to another one tonight. That's going to be a really huge one with Gainesville hosting North Forsyth. I think the energy is going to be great. I saw Coach Niblett was saying it's going to be a pink out. They're going to absolutely pack the house. This is one of the biggest games that Gainesville's had in a long time, maybe since that 2012 run. I think it is going to be absolutely packed tonight.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a big game. Naeem Cheeks for Gainesville, approaching a 1,000-yard season. Got to look out for him. Last game had over 250 yards, 273 yards total. 230 yards passing. Baxter Wright, 75% completion percentage for him. I mean, they could run it. They can throw it. Coach mentioned they're option team, but, don't sleep on them. The key in this game is going to be, and I detail it in my Drive for the State Title preview for this game. That's going to be up later. It's going to be the offensive line and Gainesville versus kind of that defensive front for North Forsyth. And I mentioned that because, can North Forsyth get those key stops when they need them? Can they force some turnovers? Gainesville does a lot of things well offensively. And, defensively, I think Cole Leroy, and then it's going to be Colin Miller. Colin Miller kind of plays linebacker, and then he can play at times in spots at defensive end. So kind of moving him all over the field, can they kind of plug those gaps? Can they limit Naeem Cheeks, who hasn't really been limited all season? So that's going to be a key. Offensively for them, getting the ball into Logan Curry, who's been playing well all season, getting the ball in his hands and trying to build that rushing attack. And then obviously in special teams underrated. Coach Niblett mentioned kind of those hitting yards, whether it's a block punt, getting the ball down inside the 20, getting the big kicker return. Those are going to be kind of some of the keys to the game. Obviously it's a big region game, region championship on the line, TV, all the stops. So it's going to be a good one. I'm excited.
Yeah, you aren't going to have a choice being on the same sideline as Coach Niblett. That's going to be really fun to see him in action. Gosh, that guy brings the ultimate energy. I think you're right, though. Colin Miller and then Logan Curry. If you watch the game tonight, you're going to hear those names quite a bit. And, yeah, Gainesville's offense has had a lot of, I guess you would say, wrinkles in it. Even Coach Niblett's son, Sky, he's had a bunch of touchdowns, and he seems to have these games where it's not like he's getting the 5 catches, but it's like every time he's catching the ball, he's making a big play and scoring the touchdown. So he's been a big piece for them also. But speaking of kind of the matchup within the matchup, we were talking about Bryce Dobson. He brought up just how talented Parkview's secondary was. So talk a little bit about, the Brookwood Parkview, that rivalry's back. I mean, this is a huge game, but just in terms of how Parkview is going to try to, with like Mike Matthews and those guys, try to counter the explosive playmaking ability of Dobson.
That will definitely be interesting. Like I said, they have that explosive kind of playmaking. Be an interesting chess match between both kind of play callers, offensive coordinator for Brookwood and kind of defensive coordinator for Parkview. They lost last week due to a 2-point conversion that was stopped against Newton. So Parkview kind of needs this game. Brookwood kind of needs this game. Obviously, there will be both 2 playoff teams, but this is going to technically – so if Parkview wins, they'll be still in contention for a region title because they have Grayson that following week. But if Brookwood wins, that knocks them out for the region title, but they're able to kind of secure a number 2 seed, and they'll be able to play at home, if they're able to beat South Gwinnett the following week. So this is a big game for both teams. And then just as far as their defense, I mean, I think that'll be interesting. Their secondary, obviously, they just highlighted, Mike Matthews is 4-star receiver. I believe he plays defense too. I might be wrong on that, but I mean, can they slow down those playmakers? You know, can Lonergan kind of cook against Parkview, whose defense has been pretty good all season long? So that part will be interesting. On the other side, you know, can they slow down Malcolm McCain, Noah Holton? Can they slow down Kyer Spain, who's been having a pretty good year so far? That'll be interesting to see. Can they establish that rushing attack? That's kind of something they kind of hung their hat on all year long for Parkview, but they can also air the ball out with Colin Hoke, Mike Matthews, and some of the playmakers they have. So it's just going to be an interesting chess match, I think, across the field all night long.
Yes, it is. There's just so many good games tonight on the schedule. One more that I have to ask you about, because I know you took a kind of close look at Blessed Trinity out at Alpharetta. Talk a little bit about that matchup and just what you've seen from those teams.
Yeah, this one is going to be really good. So you have a predominantly rushing team, and Blessed Trinity lost both of their two leading rushers last year. One notably, Justice Haynes, who's now at Buford, balling out. So they kind of replaced that with Kieran Davis, who came from Louisiana, a small Catholic school, has about 750 yards rushing, I believe about 7 touchdowns on the season. Brooks Goodman, their quarterback, has stepped up big. Coach said he thinks, you know, he has what it takes. Only a sophomore has what it takes to be good. He's only about 6 feet, but thinks he can go into about 6'2", 6'3". He's a guy, he said he's a student of the game, somebody he thinks that's going to be really good, you know, this year and going to keep developing into next year. Also, can Cole Weaver get involved? Coach mentioned he's been kind of getting bracketed more. More teams have been devoting attention to him. You know, and then they got a sophomore receiver. I think his name is Zion McKenzie. Been playing well, he said, for him. Out there in the slot, he said he's been stepping up big for them. So if they take away Cole Weaver, Alpharetta does, can, you know, McKenzie or can Zion step up, you know, again, and be that kind of that playmaker for them on the offensive side of the ball. For Alpharetta, oh, man, I mean, this team, and we may even see them next week. We may. But I'm going to leave that part out. But we're going to see. But, man, they got 2 6'6" and above guys that are over almost 290 pounds. They have 3 Division I commits. One's going to Georgia Tech. That's Elias Cloy, excuse me. Then they have another one that's an NC State commit. Then they have another one that Parker Peterson, I think there's right guard, is going to Memphis. So you put that offensive line, you're going to win a lot of games. And they're a very high potent offense. This team has scored 70 points in the game this season. They have, I'm trying to remember their quarterback, Ben Guthrie, 29 passing touchdowns this season to just 5 interceptions. They have 4 playmakers who have nearly 500 yards receiving on the year. I mean, that's just kind of unheard of. Then they got 2 guys that combined for over 16 touchdowns. So, I mean, Coach even told me, he says, there's nobody that they don't trust when the game on the line to go win a 50-50 ball when they got to have it and they got to need a possession. So when you have that kind of talent on the offensive side of the ball, that makes you dangerous. So it'll be interesting to see if Blessed Trinity can, you know, force some different things. They have a couple players play different sides of the football for them on both sides of the ball. So it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of slow down that very high-octane opponent offense. If they can't and that offense gets rolling, Blessed Trinity could be in trouble. But offensively, they do have I think a formula in place and be able to sort of sustain with rushing the football and being able to throw at Brooks Goodman.
100%. So, yeah, you guys got to go scoreatl.com. You can look into Najeh's great preview of this. Yeah, that size on Alpharetta's offensive line is crazy. Yeah, so 6'7" guys, all those 300-pounders, 290. Talked about they're all pretty much D1 commits. And then in terms of Blessed Trinity, though, you said Kieran Davis, their running back. Is he, am I reading this right, 6'2", 242 pounds?
Yup, 6'2".
That's a big running back.
Yes, he said he's very physical and dominant. They got him from Louisiana from last year and said he kind of came in. Didn't have a lot of experience, but, you know, they said he's coming to the role and has fitted very, very well.
Yeah, I would not want to tackle that. And then, yeah, Alpharetta, I think they have kind of a team that can compete with anyone this year, so it'll be really interesting. And I think, yeah, they would play. Is it Roswell next week?
Yep.
Okay. And then just one more matchup I want to ask about. The Milton at Denmark. I think Milton probably is favored in that one, just the way they've been playing. What do you just think about them, though, just having Bryce Thornton back, some of their guys, and just what they've been able to do in that transition from a predominant run team all these years to this kind of new passing attack and just the program itself just being so consistent?
Yeah, they have been. You mentioned, I believe, in either it was Wednesday show or Monday show, you said they have not lost a region game since 2017. That is huge. I mean, That's what 5 years in 5 years in counting. That's crazy. You don't really hear about that a lot. So I mean, I just think they've to lose so much as a program, to lose Adam Clack, to lose Devin Farrell, your quarterback, to lose Jordan McDonald, to lose Drew O'Connell to Johns Creek. You got these guys stepping in. Ben Reeves has done a marvelous job with them. And like you said, they like to pass the ball. They got playmakers. DeBron Gatling is very good there on the outside, junior. Luke Nickel, the sophomore quarterback, has stepped in big. If they need to rush the football, they can with Scott Maskowitz. I mean, they just got a lot of weapons on the side of the ball, and they're dangerous. And then defensively, they play good as well. Four-star Florida commit, and Bryce Thornton has been, may not have the stats, but we know what he can do. We know what he's about. Last year had 7 interceptions. I mean, they just got what it takes, man, to be really dangerous. And I think they're going to win this game on the road against Denmark. And, I think it's going to be a really good game. But I think they're going to be on a collision course with Lambert next week to kind of contend for that region title.
I agree completely on that one. I think Milton is going to take it. Denmark has been great this year, but in the recent weeks they have kind of lost some of that magic and have not been able to close it out. And then another interesting one, I think Norcross is a team that we've seen play. They're going to face Peachtree Ridge. They win that one. They're going to set up a region championship game against North Gwinnett. But just their development this season, their massive performance last week, I think it might have been against Meadow Creek or something. They put up like 65 points. What do you think about Norcross and kind of what their potential is against a team, not only Peachtree Ridge, but potentially North Gwinnett?
That's the one I'm looking for. No discredit to Peachtree Ridge. Obviously, they got to handle their business today. But I want to see Norcross do it against those major kind of teams that are going to be there. North is a good roster. I mean, Julian Walsh's first significant minutes this year playing a running back position. Ryan Hall stepped in as a sophomore QB after their QB went down kind of in the spring. They got weapons all over the field. So, I mean, I would love to see kind of that matchup. And Norcross, like as you mentioned, the key word is development. They've been able to play kind of a tough schedule. They played Mill Creek out of their non-region schedule. They played Brookwood and lost, but I think development of A.J. Watkins, how he's been kind of formulated into that offense along with, their kind of UGA commit and Lawson Lucky, Just curious to see if they can continue going. Can they win a region title? And at that point, when you get to playoff time, all the records are out the window. You're just as dangerous as any team. So I just want to see them be able to sustain it, see if they can, kind of match up against those kind of marquee teams they're going to see later in the season. Because you're going to see a Mill Creek again. You're going to probably see a Brookwood again. You're probably going to see a Valdosta down the line, second and third round. Like, these are teams you're going to face, and these teams have good defensive fronts, good teams, playmakers all over the field. How will you match up against good teams like that?
Absolutely. Well, you guys, if you aren't following Najeh, I don't know what you're doing. He's going to be on the sidelines tonight in our big game, Gainesville, North Forsyth. But we're gonna have to go because we're gonna try to get Jordan in before we bring on Coach Jelks. But Najeh, thank you so much, and we'll have the preview up of our game as soon as the show ends.
One more thing before we go.
Yep.
Yeah, guys, make sure, I'm going to keep stressing it. Me and Craig will be debuting a show next week, starting Tuesday. You will see me and Craig talking about high school sports, and we'll be talking about some college and different professional sports. Make sure you tune in. That will be some good stuff.
Yeah, we're going insane starting next week. We're going to be streaming every single day, so 5 days a week. You guys won't have to go anywhere else. We'll just be doing it every single day. You always have content, and we're going to try to take advantage of this key kind of transition from the fall to the winter by highlighting all these big games coming up and just getting the school year started off right at this exciting time. So thank you, Najeh, and certainly I'm looking forward to next week. That's going to be quite a task, but it'll be a lot of fun. So looking forward to it.
Cool.
Yep. All right, so we'll take one more quick break. Thank our sponsors, Georgia Farm Bureau.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are a Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. So we're going to be joined by Jordan Dubrof, who has been helping out with the production of the show, and obviously he's been such a huge help at Score Atlanta for so long. Just everything he's done, whether it's helping put out programs, whether it's red hat in the games, he's willing to pull all-nighters and just go at any time. So he has been a true game player for Score Atlanta, and we are excited to get his take on some of these big games. So do we have Jordan on the line yet? All right, he's still waiting. He's going to get settled in. He had to get up from the production chair. But, yeah, some of these other big games in our top 30, we're going to have them scrolling on the bottom of your screen. Obviously, the Stephenson at Holy Innocents that's kicking off in a couple hours here, that's going to be one to keep an eye on. Stephenson has a chance to clinch the region. Spalding at Perry. Spalding actually beat Perry last year, and it's the same sort of situation. Perry comes into that matchup ranked number 3, but they've just been so outstanding this year. Their only loss was to Houston County by 1 point first week of the season, and they've just been absolutely dominant ever since then. Watch out for Perry. Northside Columbus at McIntosh. Northside Columbus, they were on our show Wednesday. They have a chance to win their first ever region championship tonight, so that'll be an exciting one we're going to be highlighting. And then another one, Crisp County at Thomasville. But we're going to go ahead and bring on Jordan. All right, Jordan, so let's look at these matchups, starting with, let's see, the one that I'm interested in Class 6A that we haven't mentioned yet, Thomas County Central at Lee County. I don't know if you had that one down, but just thinking about Lee County losing last week to Northside Warner Robins, you got an undefeated Thomas County Central team. Obviously, that's going to be a great game, but do you think Lee County is going to kind of come out playing with a chip on their shoulder just after that frustrating loss last week?
I like Lee County in this game. Lee County has a great team. I'm going to have to go with Lee County winning this game tonight,
Yeah.
27-20.
Yeah, it kind of has that feel. It's like after they get their perfect season spoiled, now they can turn around and do it to Thomas County Central, and then that would get the Trojans right back on track. But another one that you highlighted, I think it is going to be a big matchup, Westlake at East Coweta. So how do you think that game's going to unfold? Think Westlake's going to be able to go on the road and pick up a key victory?
I got Westlake winning this game 37-20 in that game. Westlake with the win.
Absolutely. All right. Then what about the one Najeh and I were talking about, Milton at Denmark?
I got Milton winning this game 20-17. Milton with the win.
Yep, that would be good. We know how good Denmark's defense is, so very well could be a low-scoring affair. And I think Milton also has a kicker that has, I think he has a 52-yarder on his belt this year. What about Dawson County at Lumpkin County? Lumpkin County's had an outstanding start in Class 3A this year.
I got Lumpkin County winning this game 37-30.
Yep, that will be a good one for sure. And then how about Colquitt County at Valdosta? Valdosta is coming off their first loss of the season. Their defense has been great. Offense hasn't really clicked fully yet. And then Colquitt's just been steamrolling opponents. So what do you think about Colquitt squaring off with Valdosta?
Both schools have really great programs and incredible season so far. I see Colquitt County staying undefeated in this game, 45-40 in that game.
Wow, yeah, it's certainly going to be a playoff atmosphere there. How about Northside Columbus at McIntosh? Do you think Northside can clinch their first ever region title tonight?
Yes, I got Northside winning 27-17 that game.
27-17, yeah, that would be quite a story for them to get that region title. It's a big 5A matchup. McIntosh is a good team as well. And then the one that Najeh previewed as his game of the week, God, he mentioned all the size, but Blessed Trinity at Alpharetta. What do you think about that one? That's right in our backyard.
Both schools, really great programs. I think it's going to be another great rivalry game like Roswell, when BC played Roswell. I got Alpharetta winning this game, 30-27.
30-27. Yep. Jason Curvin has been an outstanding hire at coach there. He's brought a lot to that program. And then let's go down to 4A, a game that should be really interesting. Trinity Christian against Troop. Troop can clinch its first region title, I think since like 87 in this one. They have been so good with Teo Todd steamrolling everyone. What do you think about Trinity Christian going up against one of Class 4A's best teams?
I like this matchup really well. Both teams are really good. I want to see Troop County win this game. I'm predicting them to 27-20.
Yep, and Trinity Christian has had some low-scoring victories. They beat Stars Mill, I think it was 3-0 or 7-0. They have a good defense, but no one has had an answer for Teo Todd this season. Troop's quarterback, he can obviously throw the ball really well. He's had jump pass touchdowns, and then in terms of speed, I think he's one of the fastest, most elusive players in the state. How about we'll stick in 4A, Region 8. North Oconee clinched the region title last week, but you're going to have Walnut Grove and Madison County squaring off. I think that's going to be for the number 2 seed. A pretty even matchup right there. Who do you like?
I like Madison County. They got a really good team, but I have to go with Madison County. It's going to be a close game, a low-scoring game. I have to say. Madison.
Awesome. And then you mentioned a great matchup out of the Augusta area, Laney against Putnam County.
Yep. I got Laney winning that game.
Laney, okay. And I think they just got their 400th win as a program last week, so that was exciting. They've had a great season, so that'd be big for them. And then 2 more. Walton against Osborne. Do you think Walton's going to come out, put up some big numbers again?
Yes, I got Walton winning this game 40-30, beating Osborne.
40-30. Very interesting. I think, if I have it correct, I think Wheeler just beat Osborne. So, I mean, this is their kind of last chance to try to sneak into the playoffs. So that will be very interesting. And then, obviously, let's just end it with our game. North Forsyth against Gainesville.
I got to go with Josh Nibwood, Gainesville team. I think it's going to be high scoring. So I'm going to say 42-32.
42-32. Yep. And as I mentioned, I think the atmosphere is just going to be unbelievable. It's going to be so exciting. One of the biggest games to head to Gainesville in quite some time, maybe even a decade. So that will be really exciting. And then, yeah, we'll be updating all these scores tonight. When you look at all these games you just mentioned, though, I mean, how exciting is this time of year, Jordan, just to see teams secure their playoff berth and start to see the playoff picture come together, where we can start looking at who's going to be playing in the first round, possibly the second round, and just what the playoff brackets are going to look like.
It's exciting because everybody likes the playoffs. The players get excited for the playoffs, and they're excited to see who they're going to play.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep, and gosh, with all the coaching changes we saw this offseason, all the movement, the reclassification, it's like the teams are hitting their stride right now, and this is definitely going to be, I think, the best week we have seen so far. So many incredible matchups. Obviously, there's going to be a probability of some big upsets as well. We saw a bunch last week, so we will be closely watching all of them. We got a great list of top 30 games that will be scrolled tonight below on the broadcast, but obviously you can also go to scoreatl.com, where we have the statewide scoreboard and all 200 games. So be sure to go there and check it out. Thank you so much, Jordan. We will see you soon. All right, no time for a break, but we are going to have, for the first time, I mean, this is like a pre-kickoff interview that we really thank Coach Jelks of Stephenson. He just got to Holy Innocents. They're going to be playing for the region title with that 3:30 kickoff we mentioned against a Holy Innocents team. Stephenson right now, they're at the top of the Region 6 standings, 3-0 in the region, 5-2 overall. They had one game canceled against Florida. That's why they've only played the 7 games. They'll play Holy Innocents and then Southwest DeKalb in the finale. But Southwest DeKalb already has the region losses, so a win tonight would guarantee them the title. Then they're coming off some pretty big wins. They beat Hateville Charter 13-12. That was huge. In their opener, that came off a 28-3 win over Tucker. Then they held off Westminster in a really competitive football game a couple weeks ago, 18-13, and then followed that one up last week, 55-20 win over Miller Grove. So that was really big for them. And we'll see if we can get Coach Jelks on. But I mean, they got a lot of good pieces on this team. Oh, sorry, I got the wrong right up here. But, yeah, quarterback, they've got Martin Barton. He's only a sophomore. And then they've been running the ball really well with Devin Ingram, Elijah Edwards. Devin Ingram this past week against Miller Grove, 21 carries, 189 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's averaging about 130 yards per game. He's their leading rusher. It's over 1,000 yards. And then you have Cheek Kieta, he's also a junior, averaging 7 yards a carry. He is closing in on 10 touchdowns this season, so they've been running the ball really well. They've been a team that has played a tough schedule. They opened the year a close, competitive loss to Dutchtown, who's been outstanding. And then they really challenged Carver Atlanta, which I think says a lot. They ended up falling short 32-7 in that one. But Carver, that's a state championship potential team in 3A, so they are battle-tested. It will be a tough matchup against Holy Innocents, but they definitely have prepared themselves with the schedule, and we don't have him on quite yet. But I think the reason they're playing at 3:30, he said something about the stadium doesn't have the lights, so they had to move it up during the day, so that's an interesting kind of daily routine and switch up to be playing a Friday night at 3:30. It'll be really interesting. But we'll, of course, have a write-up of it. We'll inform you on kind of what happens in that one. And as I said, an opportunity for them to clinch the region title. And then I don't have it in front of me on who's going to potentially get that number 2 seed. But right now in the standings, Holy Innocents and Westminster are both at 2-1, and so, who did Westminster lose to? Yeah, I think Westminster. Westminster obviously lost to Stephenson, which means I believe they beat Holy Innocents, unless they would play in that final week. But we will have that squared out. All right, we got Coach on now. So, Coach, thank you so much for joining us on the show. I know you guys are about to kick things off. So, just what's it been like? What time did you guys wake up today? And are you guys ready for this kickoff?
Yeah, we woke up normal time, but it definitely was a different kind of morning. Had to get up and get out of there by noon so that we could make it over here to Holy Innocents with the traffic and everything.
Yep. Well, you made it. I mean, I'm a guy that I wish I had a teleport. Sometimes traveling to places can be exhausting, but, I mean, now that you guys are there, what's the routine? You guys just going to go through some warm-ups, some tape, and just get ready to kick this thing off?
Yeah, try to get pregame meal in real quick, and then we'll have our chapel, and then we'll be getting on the field to try to go ahead and get started with pregame warm-up.
Yep, and I've mentioned just what you guys have been able to do in the region. You guys played a really tough non-region schedule. You had the great wins over Hateville Charter, Westminster. You guys were able to close it out, and then you guys kind of exploded against Miller Grove 55-20, and then you've been off on a bye last week. So just knowing that you guys had made it through the region to that point, set yourselves up for this big region championship opportunity. And what have the last 2 weeks been like just preparing for this game?
To be honest with you, it's been tough. Last week during our bye week, almost the whole team caught the flu, and so we didn't get not one single practice in during that bye week. And then coming into this week, we had some social media threats and things like that, so we lost a day and a half this week in preparation. So we were able to kind of meet on Zoom and do some things mentally. And so, at this stage in the game, hopefully that's all, that we need. And we got to move around a little bit on Tuesday and Wednesday. So hopefully, the guys are ready to go.
Yep. Well, as I said, you guys made it, so that's what's good. You guys are there, getting ready to kick this thing off. But I was talking about some of your running backs this year, Devin Ingram, Cheek Kieta. Just talk about what your offense has been able to do the last few weeks, and just how important it's going to be to come out here and get off to a quick start.
Those guys are tremendous running backs, man, and I love the fact that, we're playing team football right now. They don't, they're not selfish at all, and they kind of take turns taking the carries and sharing their workload. But, my offensive line is who we're extremely proud of. It's a group that's really coming together, and it's a fairly young group. And so those guys gelling at this stage in the game it's a great feeling, knowing that it's 3 sophomores on that line, and they're starting to ask good questions and understand the scheme, and it's all kind of starting to come together.
That's awesome. And then one thing Stephenson has always had is great linebackers. It looks like this year Caleb Bristow, he's kind of been your leading tackler. He's getting interceptions. He's forcing fumbles, tackles for loss. Talk a little bit about Caleb and just your defense and how they've been able to get you guys to this point.
Yeah, Caleb's been a real spark plug for us. He's done a great job and making tackles, and then just making sure that we set things up the right way and we're aligned the right way defensively. So he's definitely kind of taking on a leadership role, and we're starting to see it when we step out on the field each and every Friday night. But, they take pride and just getting things done the right way, making sure we're aligned properly, making sure everybody understands their responsibility, and we're kind of getting to a point where they're taking ownership of the defense themselves. And so, whenever you're starting to get that from your defense and your linebackers, especially one that's not a senior, we're in pretty good shape.
Awesome. Well, Coach, I don't want to take too much of your time. I'll let you get back to this game, this looming kickoff and pregame meal. But thank you so much for joining us. That's awesome, and best of luck today.
Yes, sir, and I appreciate you and appreciate you guys covering high school football.
Go Jaguars. All right, so there goes Coach Jelks.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So you see it right there. They are getting ready for kickoff. We'll have that score updated for sure, and we'll look into kind of how that game plays out. Should be a great one. They've got that 4-game win streak, Holy Innocents, an opportunity to take home this one also, and then they can potentially get the region title. But I think Stephenson, just what they've been able to do consistently year after year, I think the tough wins that they've had in recent weeks has kind of prepared them for this moment, and especially coming off that big win over Miller Grove. They've been battle-tested. He talked about some of the things that have occurred in this 2-week span, whether the flu, dealing with the social media stuff, but I think they're going to be ready to just get to it and going to have that positive result, clinch Region 6. So we will be back, though, on Monday. Be sure to tune into the game tonight and go to scoreatl.com for more coverage. Thank you, guys.